has a thought on this. In fact, she was talking about this a bit yesterday in the Oval Office and then again in an interview on TV, what the Independent is referring to as the depression meal. I want you to get your head around this because lunch is cheaper than you thought. The depression meal, a lunch that will only cost you $3. This, of course, is in the spirit of affordability, the issue that's driving the American voter. Listen to what Brooke Rollins said on News Nation.
Are we asking them to spend more on their diet? And the answer to that is no. We've run over 1,000 simulations. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so there is a way to do this that actually will save the average American consumer money.
Begging the question, what's the other thing? By the way, 1,000 simulations, and that's what we came up with. A piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, not even the crown, it's the piece of a corn tortilla, and one other thing. I'm pretty sure that's not a prime rib. Although if you look at the upside down food pyramid, you might expect that to be on the menu. A ribby for everyone. Now, if you're the president, you might be splurging today, and this is where we're getting back to our lunch with Donald Trump, because the health secretary even weighed in on this. What do you think the president is eating? RFK Jr. did the Katie Miller podcast. And yeah, we're going back to McDonald's on this. When we talk about it a lot, we ought to ask them to sponsor the program, to be perfectly honest with you, knowing that what's an extra value meal? You get a Big Mac meal is $8, $10 at this point. And one other thing. I want you to hear the health secretary, who yesterday was talking about the importance of eating real foods, right? Not processed foods, real foods to stay healthy and keep our cognitive health where it needs to be. The president is an exception, according to RFK Jr. Listen.
The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is.
I don't know how he's alive, but he is the official statement from the health secretary. Forget the Diet Coke button. Did you see the jug of milk on the Resolute desk yesterday? Maybe we're getting confused in our messaging. So we assembled our political panel to help us straighten things out. Bloomberg Politics contributors Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzano are with us. Thank you both for humoring me. Rick is Republican strategist partner at Stone Court Capital, and a smiling Jeannie Shanzano, democracy visiting fellow at Harvard Kennedy School's Ash Center. Jeannie, if I gave you $3, now you think you could buy lunch with it? And what is that other thing?
There's a lot to chew on here, Joe Matthew, pun intended. It's like a dad joke, I think. Thank you. It feels like in both of these cases, these are cabinet secretaries run amok. First of all, it's very confusing because you and I talked the other day, and didn't RFK put cheeseburgers at the top of the food pyramid at this point? So now, what's wrong with it? I'm with Donald Trump on this. And who wants, it would be one thing if Donald Trump was, in his 50s or 60s. But as he approaches his 8th decade, maybe he doesn't want cabinet secretaries going out and saying, I don't know, but he seems to be alive despite it all. So, I think somebody in the PR shop's got to get these cabinet secretaries on both sides contained. They are out of control and off message.
Wow, James is pointing me in the right. I guess McDonald's, if you get the McDonald's app, Rick, you can get a free Big Mac with your first purchase of $1 or more. Wow. That's better than the $3 piece of broccoli. Rick, they're comparing this to when Jimmy Carter told people turn the heat down and wear a cardigan sweater. Is this the message of abundance you expected from the Trump White House?
Yeah, it's hard to swallow the Secretary of Health saying that, we've got a president who can barely make it through the day because of the bad food that he eats, especially the same month that he reports a brand new food pyramid. So sorry for the pun. Jeannie can't get away with it without me trying. But it's almost like there's a conspiracy in this administration's cabinet to fuel late night talk show hosts with material so that they can expand their audience share. You almost wish you were a writer for those guys because it writes itself. I don't know. First of all, I like chicken and broccoli. I think it's a really good idea diet-wise. Whether or not I want to suggest that I've run simulations 1,000 times to advise the American public on our eating habits, that's just a little bit too much use of a computer. So look, out of touch, not being empathetic with people who only have $3 for food. I mean, I just think tone deaf may be the answer of the day for this one.
Cece's got an idea here. Jeannie, Cece's favorite is the singular corn tortilla. You don't get two, you get one corn tortilla. That's how we get it down to $3. Are we supposed to put the chicken and the broccoli in the tortilla? I guess is my question here. Maybe that one extra thing could be, some sour cream. But Jeannie, just hold on and go back to what RFK Jr. said. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. Imagine if the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the last administration said that about Joe Biden. What would have happened?
Joe, first of all, I'm not sure that they priced in sour cream for you. So I think you're really stepping out there with the sour cream. Pull it back, Joe Matthew. You're getting one tortilla, one piece of broccoli, and one piece of chicken. My advice is don't put it all in one, because if you want to spread it out, eat them separately. Because you're not getting that sour cream, Joe. 1,000 simulations, that's all you get. 3 pieces. Can you imagine? And on Katie Miller's podcast, nonetheless, where all of MAGA seems to be going these days, he has that to say. We thought for a moment that this was sort of an outlet of the administration, that they could go there. It was a safe place to sort of let their hair down and share. But I'm not sure anybody wanted them to share this much. So, you wouldn't say it about Joe Biden if you're in that administration. You shouldn't say it now. Again, Donald Trump is going out there saying, I'm healthy as a horse. I'm, cognitively the best. My test couldn't be better. And his health secretary is saying he can't believe he's alive. It's foot and mouth for time.
Drinking Diet Coke all day. I could use a refill on the Diet Coke here in a minute, but by the way, RFK Jr. described at the beginning of this, I don't just watch the highlights, guys. I watched that whole thing. He told Katie Miller about his affinity for sauerkraut. Rick, he actually brings sauerkraut with him when he goes out to restaurants. Some people might have a little hot sauce in their bag or something. He's got sauerkraut, which I just can't imagine what that's matching with. But I'll go back to this idea of the health of the commander-in-chief. There have been big questions about cognitive health. People have asked about the bruising on Donald Trump's hands, the swollen ankles, all that kind of thing. But we don't always know what motivates these questions, Rick. Do Americans actually care about the health of the president?
Oh, sure they do, Joe. I mean, Americans want a vital president. They want a president who they feel like wakes up every morning ready to go to work, and obviously any health effects that they might have would distract them from their duties and role as commander-in-chief and president of the United States. So Americans look, they want their president to be vital. They want the president to shoulder the weight of the responsibilities they've got, and obviously having health problems makes that more difficult. But it's a little odd that this administration sort of allows these cabinet members, as Jeannie was saying, to go on these podcasts, to do these interviews, and expel all this word vomit. It's almost the only way you could describe it. It's not public policy. And especially RFK Jr., who seems obsessed with the president's diet, which I get. I mean, he doesn't eat any of this stuff. But the next time I go to a restaurant and bring something with me, it's going to be a Bordeaux, not sauerkraut.
All right, well done, BYOB. Just check the corkage fee. Jeannie, I don't know where you are on fermented vegetables, but how loud could this conversation about the president's health get, and what kind of marks will Donald Trump's administration get when it comes to MAHA? We're making America healthy again. Who's this resonating with?
Well, Joe, I want to say I'm very happy that our health secretary is bringing sauerkraut and not dead beer. Was it a bear carcass that he killed in New York and dumped in
that's right.
Central Park?
Yeah.
Of his own admission.
Bear
So
meat
the
is very lean.
I've never had it, but there you go. They're not going to get very high marks because what are we hearing out? The Senate is leaving town today without any deal on the healthcare subsidies. Prices have skyrocketed for millions and millions of Americans if they can get healthcare. So yeah, make America healthy again, but you've got to make it affordable. And that means addressing things like big pharma, not telling people that they are due one piece of broccoli, one piece of chicken, and one tortilla.
Cece says that's the steak on the pyramid? I had this all wrong. That's a bear steak at the top of the... Look at the ribeye on that bear. I guess that's true. Bear meat, I suppose, would be a lot more affordable than beef. This is the weirdest conversation we've probably ever had with our friends Rick and Jeannie. Does the Maha movement, Maha moms as they call them, Rick, actually amount to votes?
Well, first of all, the first thought I had was, it's 2:00 in the morning in Tokyo, and I'm talking about hamburgers. So, to be honest with you, it's a little hard to consume. But look, the Maha movement is actually a legitimate political movement, and the reality is Americans do have a horrible diet. We eat too much processed food. It's yes. Fun to make light of it, but it is a health issue, and frankly, this is one of the things that RFK was able to connect with voters on that made him a valuable cabinet pick.
What are you doing up at 3 a.m, Rick Davis? My God, the man just never stops working. Live in Tokyo, amazing. Jeannie Shanzano with us. They're back in our second hour. My God, we're going to round the bend on the 4 o'clock hour for poor Rick. It's almost breakfast time. Cue the bear meat. I'm Joe Matthew in Washington. We'll have much more in our second hour here on Bloomberg.